pretty cool.
Hey,
Hey,
are we live now? Are
we
we
are
live on
live.
Facebook? Are we hot? Are we hot? Are the mics hot? Gary, your mic hot?
Yeah, my mic is hot.
No doubt. ESP, your mic hot?
We always hot, boo.
All right, so now we rocking and rolling, and we are waiting for our guest. But before we get to the guest segment, and this show today is about what? What is today's show about?
It's your home and what you should know before purchasing.
All right, fantastic. So that's what we're doing. Now, I just wanted to mention a couple of things before I get started. One, first thing I have to say is big shout out to Peach's grandson, who his birthday was last week, and I didn't get a chance to actually play his song, but I'll get to that when I can get to that. Promise you, I got you. Quick note for the community, right? A couple of things that have happened. Number one, did we not host the marathon in the Bronx, y'all?
It was big. It was big. It was
So
big.
much fun. Oh my goodness.
It was big.
Come on.
amazing, amazing. The human spirit was just amazing.
That was so incredible.
I mean,
Really?
it was inspiring. It was incredible. You had a double amputee that ran the whole marathon. Like, if someone can do that, then what are y'all doing? There's no excuse.
Which was incredible,
Yes,
right?
very
so
much so.
Here we do, right? Because it was a joke that I remember Cat Williams made about Little Dink Dink, right? And Little Dink Dink was, right? He was a guy that was running, and it was about a marathon. It was actually a marathon joke that he made, and it was so incredible because, and that wasn't like, he was even like late, really, by the time we saw him, you know. But to see this double amputee run the marathon under 3 hours.
That's right.
Right? And that's 26 miles. He started in Staten Island.
That's right.
He went to Brooklyn. He went to Queens. He went to Manhattan, went to the Bronx, and came back to Manhattan. And he did that under 3 hours. That was incredible.
That's right. Very much so.
Do you remember seeing the guy that, yeah, that was crazy. And big shout out to Al Pizarro and Hip Hop Boulevard that invited us to do
Yeah.
that.
That
Yes,
was
big
amazing.
shout out to Al.
You know, we had really a moment with that. You know what I'm saying? And DJ MC June Ski was there, and Grandmaster Rasheen was there, and just a quick, you know, history of
Rodney C.
Rodney C from the Funky 4 Plus One More was there. You know, and the thing about Rasheen, and I didn't know really how influential Grand Wizard Rasheen was to the Philly scene. He was actually responsible for like Jazzy Jeff and Will and all that. He was like the guy that brought like hip hop to Philly.
That's what's up.
You know. So, and he was there in the tent, and WSME was in the tent with my man Steven Richardson was there, and we saw stuff. Now I'm going back to that because I had to give the shout out to everybody. But there was a dude that did the marathon who only had a torso
Yep.
and skateboarded,
And skateboard. That's right.
right? That was so crazy. And then the earlier people that we saw in the marathon were, that's when we saw the wheelchairs.
The
right?
wheelchairs were being put. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was crazy. Like we were almost like sort of crying about it. Really. We were like,
Not almost.
yeah,
We were crying.
Yeah.
The
ESP
quadruped,
was like,
forget
oh
it.
my God.
Oh
She's
my
like,
God, it was amazing. It was amazing.
she's like, rock is affecting me, but it's true
Oh,
because
That is
it-
not what I sounded like, but okay.
listen, I'm not the perfect imitator.
It
I'm just
was
saying.
moving because, I mean, you figured these people only had the use of their upper body. We couldn't walk from the whole course that they had done. Walk. But these people with no legs, no physical ability to really move, were doing it with their hands. It was just amazing. And what about the people who were pushing other people
That's right.
in wheelchairs?
That's right.
Yo,
That
that
was
right there
crazy.
was crazy because what they were doing was like, so you had a runner, an able runner, and they were pushing people and in wheelchairs 26 miles so that they could experience the marathon.
That's right.
I mean, just to see all these things happen was really crazy for me. It was really like inspiring, and I really enjoyed that. And here's what I have to say to all of y'all that are listening: if you have an opportunity, and the marathon is running in your borough, you need to go see a true testament
That's right.
of the human spirit. These guys, whether he was on a skateboard, whether they had the hand bikes, whether they were pushing somebody in the wheelchair so that they could experience 26 miles of you
Amazing.
pushing a wheelchair bound person is incredible.
One of them was a bucket list. The person in the wheelchair it was their bucket list wish, and I think it was like their son or something, and he just took them along for the ride. It was an amazing thing.
And that was incredible. So I'm going to give a big shout out to the New York City Marathon, and obviously the Kenyans won, of course. You know, you know,
They always win.
they always win. Listen,
But explain why, because you
They shut it
explained
down.
on one of our live posts at the marathon. You
Right.
would explain, but explain it again, because a lot of people don't know why the Kenyans train so well, and
Right.
I thought it was very poignant that you said that morning.
so what happens with the Kenyans is, right? They train at a higher altitude
Yes.
than everybody else.
Yes, they do.
And what the significance of that is, if you don't understand, is when you're at a higher altitude, there's less oxygen,
That's right.
right? So they're running and they're huffing and puffing in this higher altitude. Now, just for scientific purposes, so you understand purposes, that there's only 21% oxygen in the air we breathe. Everything else is whatever it is. So these guys are running with less oxygen available to them. I don't know if it's 19%, 16%, 10%. I don't know what it is. But I do know, and this is a scientific fact, the higher up you go, the less
Less
oxygen
oxygen,
there is.
that's right.
That's
Yeah.
just science,
That's
right?
science.
So now they come down to below sea level, because New York is basically about below sea level, and it's oxygen rich. So these are running like this. Pop, 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 pop.
It's
Let
a
me tell
piece
you,
of cake for them at
It's a
that
piece
point.
of cake.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to all you marathon runners out there, I know you training, and I've trained for that, but you need to go to the mountains and run.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And it was so crazy. And then they passed us in a blur.
Yeah.
It was like,
It was like
woof, woof. We had to have our phones up and ready
to set the shot
to
before they
set the
got
shot
there.
because it was so fast that it was like, oh, woof, woof, woof. And they ran past us. You know what I'm saying? And once again, it was awesome. Big shout out to Al Pizarro,
Pretty incredible. Right there.
for having us there. And it was an awesome experience. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and I guess our guest is here in the building. Is our guest here in the
Yes,
building?
he is.
All right, so our guest should come to the microphone while I talk about this next thing, and then we'll get into the show. So, the next thing I want to talk about is we have come upon the holiday season. Is that accurate?
Yes.
All right. And you know how we know that? Because it's cold as hell outside right now. It's like 29 degrees.
Because we're wearing Halloween costumes, setting up for a turkey, and have Christmas decorations up all at the same time. That's how
Yes.
we know.
That's how we know. And I felt that frost. I'm like, oh my God, it's so cold. It's cold outside. Right. And then I went and got a haircut. Now I'm bald and I'm cold. But the significance of that is, to all you people listening, and we look at the statistics and see what's going on. To all you guys that are listening, right now is the time to go get a job. Because the holiday season is when they do the temporary employee thing.
Yes, they do.
So UPS, Macy's, Federal Express, they all need extra help right now. So my advice to you is go to any of these entities any entity that affects the holiday season, because they need extra help. And from that, you might end up in a situation that you'll have a permanent job with these places. UPS, Federal Express, even the post office hires temporary employees during that time frame. You do a good job, supervisor likes you, and they go, you know what? we're gonna keep you. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to do that right now for everybody that might be looking for a job or whatever. Look into um, these places, and even Amazon right now.
Mhm.
They need extra help because the holiday season, it's presents, it's extra mail, whatever. You know, this is a time for you to actually get employment. And what people don't report really is during the holiday season is the time for you to actually go and run and get a job.
I gotta say something about that. I got an experience. One of my very my very first job in terms of music industry wise, I worked at Sam Goody,
Okay.
right? And that's how I got my frontline experience dealing with customers, and that happened at Christmas time.
Right.
And they kept me.
Yeah.
And that kept me. So when I went on to do other stuff in the music industry, I could say I had frontline experience in, dealing with customers, what they like. But to your point, I got hired during Christmas and
That's right.
during the holidays, and they kept me after.
And that's so retail shops in your neighborhood.
That's right.
Retail shops in your neighborhood, you want to make sure um, that you go to those retail shops because they need extra help. They need extra
They do.
help. And then you can get hired for the rest of the year and then maybe turn that into a career, whatever's going on. So I just wanted to do that real quick. You know what I'm saying? Let people know about that.
I just want to give a special shout out to someone. One of our supporters, Lori, she's been in the hospital. So I want to give a get well. We love you, Lori.
Yes, we love you, love you.
Get well soon. And I'll talk to you later on. But I just want to give a special shout out to her.
So sorry to hear
To
that.
get well.
Where does Lori live? What state does she live in?
She's in Florida.
All right. So I'd like to give a big shout out to her because in her support, and if you don't understand what the support she's doing, is in February is when the dinosaur thing happens.
Yeah, Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, right? And Lori, sorry, is giving us tickets to the show so that we can report on the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was super cool. And then we also have tickets to the monster truck thing that they produce.
Mm-hmm.
We have tickets to that. And on top of that, Lori, thank you so much. We're going to give away tickets
Yes.
to these shows on this show. So that's incredible. You know what I'm saying?
She's awesome.
She's been really super supportive. So thank you, Africa Hannibal. So where's our guest? Our guest is
He's
available.
setting up, but can we do the awareness? Because it's
So
in that new month.
you know what? Now, ESP,
Yes.
you're wearing some colors and you have stars on your
Well,
shirt.
no, I usually wear colors for. I was so confused, and I'll explain. We always do the awareness, and I always wear the color for whatever awareness.
Right.
But
So
I'm
what
in
is this
stars.
about? What is it about?
Because the stars is for. There are so many of them this month. I'm gonna tell you how many awarenesses we have to be aware of.
Okay.
So November is National Diabetes Awareness Month. It's Lung Cancer Awareness Month. It's Alzheimer Awareness Month. It's COPD, Pet Cancer Awareness, Native American Heritage Awareness, Pancreatic Cancer Awareness,
Heavy.
Epilepsy Awareness, National Adoption Awareness, Impotency Awareness,
Whoa.
Military Family Month, which should be every month. And they're all great causes, but I dust all of the stars because, there's one star for each one of the good causes. But in my investigation, I also found some very silly awareness months.
Okay, what do you got?
It's Banana Pudding Lovers Month,
Okay.
National Fun with Fondue Month,
Apparently, Hannibal
Peanut-
likes banana pudding.
Peanut Butter Lovers Month. It's Pepper Month. What the fuck?
Wow.
It's Vegan Month, and it's Sweet Potato Awareness Month. Why?
Wow.
Now, here's one for you, for all the guys. It's Shavember month.
Alrighty then.
So you
What?
supposed to get a shave?
Now, here's one.
No, because I got a shave.
I'm kind of on the fence with this one. It's Worldwide Bereaved Siblings Month. Now, your godson heard me say that, and he said, "Mom, isn't that a funeral?"
Ooh.
And I had to laugh. It's
It's kind of like,
I mean,
yeah, I guess so, maybe.
I'm a bereaved sibling because I have a brother that died and a sister that died. But
Sure.
really, there's a worldwide bereaved siblings month.
Yes, there is. Wow.
So, thus, I couldn't pick one color. I didn't have a rainbow shirt, so I said they're all stars. Let me wear stars. Ta-da!
Damn. Right?
You have
Hit the
it.
drums. But
And
that's
our guest is here. He should come on over.
But I just want to say that here's my problem. I heard all of that.
Yes.
But you had something that was called "You Can't Get It Up" month, right?
Now, that's not nice. Let's
No!
not laugh at that.
Listen, I'm not laughing. I'm just saying.
It's National Impotency Month. Now, if there's a husband and wife that really want to have a child, the awareness calls to the month because we're looking into different research ways in order to help with that issue. You can't laugh at that.
Well, hold on for a second. Let me deal with it. All right, let me deal with it. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So, are we talking about impotency that your sperm don't work, or are we talking about impotency that your Bozak don't rise? It's two different things. What are we dealing with? I just wonder what month it is.
I will investigate it further. And how about this?
Yeah.
We'll get it up by
Yeah,
December.
That's all I'm saying. Because
Boom.
listen, right? So I'm just saying, like, if it's like an impotency, like you can't get it up month, right? Okay. This is important to all men that are over 50, right? Because all men that are over 50, once you get over 50, if you haven't been really exercising or whatever, it's a scientific fact that your sex drive kind of goes off the cliff, right? So I'm just going to tell you what I do.
This is going to be a whole nother show now.
Can't get your Bozak up, right? So let me tell you what I do, brothers. So I take Yohimbe. Now Yohimbe 250 is incredible. I'm not doing a commercial for it. I'm just saying when my sexual stamina is not right.
Oh God, why?
Listen. It's 7:20. We're good. We're gonna get into the show. I'm just saying that when it ain't right, I take the Yohimbe 250 maximum power. And that will put you correct. And you'll be like a superhero. You'll be like, da, 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 right? And there'll be like music playing behind you.
Nobody wants to know this right now.
No. Let me tell you something. There are a lot of impotent men that want to know this.
About you. They want to know about the product, but they just take it.
No, it's not about me. It's about, I'm telling you that I've tested this, I've tried this, and it works. That's all I'm saying. So, all of a sudden, now we have a new person at the table right now.
Yes, we have Emanuel Afra.
Hello, everyone.
Claps for Emanuel.
He's a very, very good friend of mine. I'm so excited about this day. It's just amazing.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, it's good to be here. This is Gary D.
Nice to meet
to
you.
your
How are you?
right, and ESP
You know me.
already.
Obviously, definitely.
You're one of my
Right.
favorite
And
people.
you know me, we've already talked.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And we're engaged. So today's show is about getting a house and the pitfalls of getting it and how we need to get it and all of that type of thing. So that's what this show is about, and that's what we're going to talk about. And you're here as the expert, and I want to talk to the people. Buying a house is a process, and what we're doing today is we're trying to walk you through the process so that you can buy a house. That's what this whole show is about. So what we're doing here at The Real Discussion with Gary D and ESP and myself is we're trying to uplift you and say, hey, you know what? it's possible for you to get a crib. You know what I mean? And what are the assets and what are the
What do you
benefits
need
of
to
doing
do?
that? What do you need to do?
And we've talked to you so much through this NYCHA thing, where people are paying $2,000 and $3,000 a month for rent, who are outside of NYCHA, that we want you to understand that that $2,000-3,000 that you're paying for someone else to build themselves up, you can actually put into a mortgage. So rather than just tell you about it, we're going to show you about it. And we brought in one of our favorite people. He's actually done several of my houses. So we're going to give the floor to Manny.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me.
You are
Pleasure.
so welcome.
You guys look excellent tonight.
Thank you. You look terrific yourself.
Thank you very much.
So tell us what you do, Manny.
So I'll give a fast recap. I've been in the real estate game for about 10 years. Started in Jamaica, Queens, and gradually grew from there. And started going from being just into sales, then into the developing, and then back into sales again now. So pretty versed, pretty I would say versed in what's going on, especially in New York. Especially in New York, which is
Big
probably
deal.
one of the toughest areas to get exactly what you want. But there's still, we're gonna try to help people out, give them big tips on things that'll make it much easier for them.
Okay, so what is the first big
So-
thing you need them to know
So
about?
so basically, I tell people all the time is stop believing everything that people say on the internet and actually go out there and look for yourself. So that's number one. Unfortunately,
that's a good one.
Yeah, unfortunately, everybody believes everything that's on the internet these days. But I would suggest number one is definitely ask family or friends about their experience and how they went about it, just so that you can start the process.
Right.
If you don't know anybody that basically purchased recently, then I would suggest looking online, but with a little grain of salt, and just checking out very active agents that are in the area where you're looking for, and pretty much calling them and asking them the right questions, and possibly even seeing them face to face, because over the phone they'll tell you anything.
Well, what are the right questions?
So the right questions usually people ask is, what do I need? Where do I start? How do I do this? So I tell people all the time, listen, the first thing I would do is actually meet with a banker. A banker will actually explain to you exactly what you need, which I will tell you in a few minutes. And he will get you ready for that process. Okay? Some people make the mistake, they go out there, they start looking for houses, they get all excited, they find the perfect house, and then they need to look for financing, and it doesn't really match up. So, I mean, people who are most likely taking mortgages, cash is a totally different game. But so there's like many things here. So the first thing they usually ask you for is they usually ask you for a couple of documents, and all the places do this. A lot of places now are actually, since we're so fast-paced here in New York, you can even email documents to them. So they ask for things like last 2 years W-2 tax returns. They will ask you for a bank statement. They will ask you to run your credit. Okay. And then as you meet with them, they're going to probably ask you for your ID and all that information.
Can we do that as a 1, 2, 3 thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
So number
Absolutely.
one, what did it ask
So
you
number
for?
number one, they're probably going to ask you for your last 2 years W-2
Okay.
or 1099 if you're self-employed. Okay, and tax returns. Okay, and all the pages, guys, not just
Not
one
just
page,
the
not
lead
just
page, everything.
not just everything. They basically, number two. They're going to ask you for a bank statement so they see how much money down you are working with. And number three, you're probably going to have to fill out a form to run your credit. Now, everybody's worried about credit all the time and running credit. And is it going to hurt my credit running the credit, or is it going to...
Right. I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Matt. When you said money down,
Mhm.
is there, because I know a lot of listeners, right, they think, I need 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 right down. What would be sort of an average money down situation, or can it be no money down?
So the misconception is, and I get this all the time, people call me and they're like, oh, I cannot afford a house. I only have X and Y in the bank, or I don't have anything. So there are many programs out there. The three most popular programs right now, because there are a lot, but we're going to talk about the simplest programs for people who really their dream is to own something here, which I think is the best asset ever, is the FHA program that they have. The FHA program that they have, it stands for Federal Housing Administration. It's basically you're putting 3.5% down on a loan. Now, it sounds really good, but you are actually also paying a price for putting 3.5% down. So
And
it
just to
might
be
sound,
clear, that
yeah,
3.5%
yeah,
that he's talking about is of the total price of
of
the
the
house.
house. Exactly.
So let's get a number. Give me a
So
house. Give me
let's say a
house number.
one-family or two-family house. So you see everywhere is different. Brooklyn, Queens, but let's say Queens. Let's just pick Queens for an example.
Cool.
So Queens, a one-family. Let's say today a renovated one-family because FHA needs to be a living condition renovated house. So let's say on average a house is like 450 to 499, small basic house. You know, one family, two bedrooms. You know, so 450, 499, we're looking at rock about 3.5%. I don't know, in the back of my head, you guys look. I'm not a mathematician.
I didn't
That's
know
what
I
I'm.
was going to
Yeah,
work.
yeah, okay.
You keep talking.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah, we're gonna get together. Don't worry
So
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. So
There's a lot of
I think we're
information.
close to less than 20,000, which is it's money. I get it, but
It's 16,000.
exactly.
It's 15,075.
Okay. So let's say between all the other costs that you have, it's close to 20. Let's just say. But that's only the down payment. Then there's other things that are involved. But I tell people that's the FHA program. The next program that they have is the conventional program, which is which is 20% down. Now, I know some people listening. There are conventional loans where you could put 5% down, 10% down, 15. But 20 is the actual one where you're actually not paying an extra fee because you're putting 20% down. It's up to people what they like to do. I usually like to have my money in my pocket and go with the least amount down. And honestly, the rates are extremely low right now. And what I mean by rates, because some people don't get it, so the interest rates, meaning like for what you're actually getting, you're getting a lot of house today compared to how much it used to be. Yes, they're more expensive, but you're definitely getting more. I would say, you know, just to give you an example, interest rates, so I don't get so technical, basically, so for every, I'd use a rule of thumb, okay? So just an example, if you go buy a car today, okay, you're paying maybe like, I don't know, let's just say a regular car, 25,000, you know, 20,000, whatever. You're gonna pay much more than a loan that you're gonna take of $100,000. Okay, so let me not confuse everyone. So I go by 100,000 just to explain to everyone how much you're actually paying. Okay. So let's say if I would go buy $100,000 car, okay, my monthly payment on $100,000 car is definitely going to be more than a mortgage of a house that's about 450. Okay.
Interesting.
Yes. So
So you're saying $100,000 car,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And a mortgage
Mhm.
for a house
Yes.
at 450. This
Very
is
different.
the platform we're on.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
So I'll give you an example. Let's just say example because I'm probably gonna. Let's make it simple. Okay. So let's say. So I go with a general thumb with today's interest rate. It's saying for every 100,000 a house is, it's about 450 a month, just for your mortgage, not including tax, insurance, and other fees. If you go to get a $100,000 car
450,
for
$450.
100,000, yeah, for
For every
100,000,
100,000,
yeah,
it's
that you borrow from the bank.
$450.
Oh, this is big.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Now imagine you go and buy a $100,000 car. You're definitely not paying $450 a month for it.
No doubt.
No, you're
Okay,
right,
Yeah.
and that's just going to depreciate every single,
Yeah.
I think, hour
Yeah,
today.
there's no value in the
It's
car.
not even.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
even
Yeah.
every single hour. I think.
Every time you step foot on the gas, it
Yeah,
depreciates.
exactly.
So, okay.
So that's why I think home buying is one of the most important things that a person can do. It is not for everyone, but especially for people who are looking to save for the future. Now, there are other loans called VA loans, and that's for the veterans out there that might be listening. The VA loans are extremely amazing. You're getting pretty much, you're not putting anything down. You're putting 0% down. You're walking into a house that can be almost a $500,000 house, and you're not putting anything down. Nothing. Zero.
Well, you did put it down already. You put your life down, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
how
that's
the government
true.
is
Yeah,
paying you
yeah,
back.
yeah. So they
deserve
deserve
that.
it. Yeah, exactly.
But there's
Um,
no bread, no bread. We're just walking in.
That's it. You're just walking in. Again, everyone, there's still the same documents that you have to prove. So again, just to reiterate, it was number one, last 2 years bank statements. Number two, they're going to check your. I'm sorry, past 2 years
Tax returns.
tax returns, bank statements, and your credit. We'll get to all of that soon. And then there's something called a 203K loan, which we hardly hear about, and some people don't know about, which I'll give people an insight on. It's a construction loan. Yeah. Rock is
All right.
looking at it.
Let's talk.
Construction
Go ahead.
loan, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I won't go too much into the mortgages because my guys really, some of the people I work with, they deal with that. But just to give you an example, these are things that you should know before going in. The 203K loan is basically, let's say you find a house, it needs some renovation. There are some programs out there that would actually help you renovate and give you a loan to renovate the property. So for those of you who like handyman specials, those are great. Of course, in New York, it's very difficult to do that.
Got you.
Yes. Now, home buying process. Okay. So you had a question to me before. So those are the basic loans. Okay. Now.
I had several questions lined
Oh,
up
go ahead.
for
Go
you
ahead. Go ahead. I'm
because
with you.
I had done a survey on what people wanted to know.
Sure.
I have two listeners who had asked, how do I become financially prepared for this process? That's one question.
Excellent.
And do you believe in the first time buyer programs?
Okay.
And those are those ones that if you come to our class, we'll give you $10,000, but they like put you through this whole process. And what are your feelings on that? And whatever other down payment programs that they should trust. So those three questions came from one person.
Got you. Just remind me of the first question, just so we make sure we handle that one.
How do they prepare financially?
So it's very hard to tell everybody how to prepare financially. We all have different lives. We spend on different things. But I try to explain to people, listen, a house is something that I guess all of us, we all need a house. We all need somewhere to live. So I explain to people, if you're very serious about it, just try every year to put a little bit aside. Try to, I guess, minimize how much you're spending on things that really have no value, especially, which I'm guilty of, on cars and items that are just, there. That's what I would prepare. Now, other things to prepare, which is credit.
I think that's what she was referring
I was going to go to. Now, everybody gets scared. They're like, oh, my credit's bad, my credit's bad, my credit's bad. The truth is, no credit is actually worse than bad credit, okay? So if you have no credit, which is some people do, they have nothing, that's worse than bad credit. Credit can always be repaired, guys. We can always help you with credit. There are ways to solve them. There are credit repairs out there that charge you an arm and a leg, and I can actually, and I could give everyone over here basic steps where the listeners can actually help themselves and not spend that money on the credit repair because they need that money.
Well,
you can actually use Credit Karma to fix it yourself, guys.
So give me the number
Okay.
that we consider to be bad credit.
Okay.
What's the marker? What's the marker? Like, because we teach CPR, right? And we know that the systolic blood pressure of less than 90 means you're unstable.
Got it.
So give me
Okay.
the marker of bad credit.
So I'll tell you what most banks in New York, again, we're just talking about New York because I do real estate in other states, but in New York, they like anything from a 580 and above. Okay. Now 580 is low.
I didn't even know
but
that.
Wow.
but they will
Yes,
work
you
with
did.
you on a 580. Now, you can get a house with less than a 580, but you risk paying more fees.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people don't know. And please, to the listeners, please make sure you know that, because you will find out later when you close on the house that you're actually paying a lot of money because your credit wasn't repaired, and it might have cost you maybe $200-300 to repair that, but now you're paying that $200-300 a month extra because you didn't just take care of that problem.
Let's take one quick second to
Sure.
talk about what
Sure.
to specifically address what he's talking about in terms of repair. Bad credit. Okay, it's not so much the number as it is what the bad credit
Exactly.
is. Because if you've got charge-offs, if you've got things going to collections every 20 seconds, if you keep getting credit cards and you don't pay for them and you let them go into collections and you don't address them, those are a problem. They can be fixed, but they're a problem. Okay? So when he's talking about bad credit, the number is significant, but it's how you actually got there. Because you can fix these things. You can go on Credit Karma, you can get a report for free, and you can buy each one of these things has a phone number. You can call them and say, listen, 10 years ago, I borrowed money from you and I was paying on the card and I got sick and there's $1,000 left. Can we come to some sort of agreement?
Right.
And can I pay this off? They will settle with you and you'll end up paying a percentage of what the actual bill was. And once you pay it off, they wipe it away. They'll send you a letter that it's gone and you can prove to the bank that you're dealing with. They'll take it off and your credit score will go up. So these things can be corrected. That's what he's addressing right now. It's not a panic attack because, oh God, my credit score is so
Yeah.
bad. It can be fixed. Back to you there.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So one
I'm
more thing I
well-trained
wanted.
by you.
Yeah, no, we're all learning. It's all a learning experience. Every day I learn something new. But one more thing I wanted to say about credit. Basically, guys, please, even if you're not gonna buy a house, try to repair your
Fix your
credit.
credit.
It just gets worse year by year, and they're actually becoming more difficult and more difficult. Of creditors are becoming more difficult in settling with people. So that's what I would do as far as making sure that you're saving money. You know, make sure your credit is in line, and make sure that you're not spending on things that are not going to have any future asset or build up for you.
Okay.
So that's what I would do.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um, back in 2008 when the financial crisis happened.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of that had to deal with predatory lending.
Yes.
So, for the average person that wants to buy a house,
Mhm.
what type of information do they need to know to go and talk to the bank or the
Absolutely.
banker? Because I sat in with people from Countrywide and all of that, so I know a lot of that stuff. So I'm just saying, for the average person, what do they know so they don't get caught up, or I guess so they don't get caught in another predatory lending situation?
Got you.
Because obviously, I think they have, some of these places, they have the introductory rates, and then 2 years later,
The balloon he's talking
exactly.
about.
So
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, a few things, but I don't want to hit too much more. But just to keep in mind, guys, when you're going in for a loan, always make sure that you know what exactly you're getting and how long you're paying for it. We're going to just hit mortgages for a little bit because money obviously means everything to everyone. So a lot of banks, basically that's how they make money, is by you taking out a loan, which is fine. You're getting what you need and they're helping you out. Now, there's something that's called 30 years fixed, okay?
Yeah.
And there's something called balloon financing,
Yes, yeah.
which changes after, some banks is after 3 years, after 4 years, 5 years. A lot of the crises that happen, and I have family members that actually, experienced this, was because a lot of banks were just giving out money. They weren't checking backgrounds. They weren't making sure. They didn't care if you can afford a house or not. They just wanted the commission once they closed on a deal.
I missed that train.
Yeah, exactly. But and that's what happened. And they're very. I mean, from experiences of working every day, they're very meticulous now. They want to know everything,
As they should.
everything. Now, they do make it very difficult, but I always tell, especially the listeners, if you're interested in purchasing a house, don't give up. Just listen, just walk through it, deal with whatever they need to deal with, because at the end of the day, in 10 years, 15, 20 years down the line, you're really going to see why it was worth it. That's what I explain to people. But saying basically know what you're getting into. Those couple of years, people didn't exactly. There's a difference between what you can afford and what you can get approved for. Okay?
Right.
People
Okay.
can get approved for a lot of money, but they might not be able to afford it. And
Right.
just know the difference between that. If you know the difference and you can actually make a good judgment of that, then you will stay out of trouble.
So what would be the financial gap in that? Like, let's say I get approved for $1 million house.
Right.
Right.
Hmm.
What is it that I make that would make you go, all right, he can afford $1 million house? You know what I'm saying? And
It's personal.
Yeah.
I think.
And I'm just kind of going at
Yeah.
it from a standpoint of, I know there's a lot of people that are coming out of that will be. You're about to have a flooded market momentarily. I just want
Yeah.
you to know.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are going to be coming out of NYCHA, conceivably,
Got you.
over the next few years. And some of those people will have money,
Right.
right, to put a down payment on.
Hmm.
So what would be $1 million house,
Hmm.
what should your salary be?
Got you. Okay. So it's a difficult question
Let's go.
because there's a lot of things involved, which we could probably. It's going to take a while, but I'll just make it very simple. There's a lot of things involved in taking out a mortgage. It's not only your income. They also want to see what are you paying every single month. So they do a comparison between what your debt to income ratio, which is DTI. They use all these fancy words. I'm
Yeah.
sure people hear
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
I don't like the fancy words. I just say it how it is. So basically, to make sure that you're not struggling, basically that you have an extra maybe 2 or 3 months maybe saved aside just in case you cannot pay or anything like that. So I tell people that all the time. But as far as like $1 million house, I mean, I can do the numbers, but if I need to say it off the top of my head, I would say you'd probably need somewhere around 200,000 to be comfortable
Okay.
a year.
All right.
And let's not forget, there's a W-2 and a 1099.
Right.
Okay, W-2 is actually, I like to use the word cleaner. A 1099, I've had a customer that came in, and because I'm so seasoned in the business, what I do is I first look at financials, because there's no reason to go out there without that. Because, hey guys, honestly, at the end of the day, it's what what you can afford,
Right.
or what you can get a loan for. So 1099, there's a lot of people, and I tell them this: when you file your taxes, here's another one. You guys, that's what you should do. Make sure if you're planning on buying or purchasing a property, that you do not have a lot of things that you're writing off on your taxes. It's gonna hurt you at the end of the day. You might not pay taxes, but it's gonna hurt you. If you're looking to purchase, they're gonna use that against you.
What might they be writing off? Like
So
some of the
examples like
Just give me some stuff.
so 1099 people.
Yep.
W-2 is a little different, but 1099
I'm a
people.
1099, that's
okay,
why I'm
so am
asking.
I. So
All
am
right.
I. So yeah.
So where does it go
Yeah.
south for me?
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So I'll tell you, 1099. A lot of people write off, believe it or not, dinners,
Yeah.
lunches,
Right. Okay.
dinners.
Check.
Yeah.
I do that. Okay.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, yeah,
No,
you're
I
allowed
get
to.
it. Oh,
You
yeah.
can.
And I do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep
Just
going.
in case the IRS is listening, we're just keeping.
All of my dinners are business.
Oh boy.
So
Okay,
so
all
yeah,
right.
so
Check.
dinners, cars, transportation,
yeah.
gas,
No doubt.
mileage, vacations, hotels,
Yeah.
clothing,
Check.
believe it or not,
Yeah.
dry cleaning,
Yeah.
believe it or not,
I know. Listen, you gotta have
Pretty
clean
much
clothes.
anything.
No, I mean, you gotta have clean clothes to do
Absolutely.
business.
I
You
agree
can't be
with it
funky
100.
doing business, right?
100%.
All right, and your clothes gotta be clean.
Absolutely.
So dry
They
cleaning
have
is
to.
very important. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Other things are not coming to mind, but those are like the top things.
Now, is this what messes you up with buying a house?
Yes. So
Okay.
some people don't know this, but your accountant, when you tell your accountant, listen, I don't want to pay a lot of taxes, the first thing they're going to do is try to find you the most deductions you can, which are also office supplies, which are another big one.
Sure.
They will write down anything, and then you get your check at the end of the year. Oh, they actually sent me money back. But when you go into a bank account, when you go into a banker or a loan
Right.
officer, they will look at it and say, "Oh, that's great. You made $250,000 a year, okay? But you wrote off about 200,000
Correct.
in expenses. So your income is 50,000. You can't buy anything, really, in New York
Gotcha,
right now.
gotcha.
You know?
Gotcha.
And
This is interesting.
yeah, the accountants don't really care about that unless you tell them. I mean, from my experience, guys, don't get upset. Maybe an accountant does tell you that, but most accountants will not tell you that. Their job is to try to get you to pay the least amount of taxes that you can. So that's one of the things I would prepare for, especially now that we're starting a new year. So for 2020, if somebody's planning and buying something in 2020, I would suggest for 1099 people again, keep your expenses to a minimum. That's what I would suggest for that one. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, and I just want to say this because you're talking about something, and I'm not getting political, right? And I'm not. But usually, 1099 people do better when it's a Republican president, right? Because Republicans are usually about, business, doing for yourself, doing your thing, right? That's what that's about. Not to get too political, but that's usually what that's about. It's about you doing business. Now, I learned this when I was about 27, 28. And my lawyer said, start a corporation. And I was like, word? He's like,
Absolutely.
can I do that? And then I gave him some money. We started a corporation. He started in Delaware. And at that stage in the game, everything you're saying that I could write off,
Yeah.
I could write off.
Right.
Clothes, eating, drinking, right? And I was like, this is great. Okay, I'm living that life, and I'm spending the money that I'm making, but... And then there was the office supplies, right? Now, my office supplies at the time were musical, right?
Right.
So it was musical instruments, tapes, cassettes, whatever, equipment, whatever, and all those things you could write off. What I'm driving at with that, and it was important that you said that, is you're saying that these practices that Republicans really allow you to do.
Right.
Democrats don't allow you to do that. Republicans are the ones that allow you to do that. Let me tell you, I thrived under George Bush, right? Thrived. Just straight up just thrived. It was just ridiculous. Now, the new dude, I don't know what's happening, but I thrived under George Bush. I suffered a little bit under Bill Clinton. Obama was sort of like the medium, but I just remember that, from what you're saying to me,
Yes, sir.
is that these practices can keep me from getting a house.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I
So
wanna
that's
be clear about
one
that.
big one.
So-
That's one
Okay.
big one.
For 1099 people, 'cause
Yes.
I fall into that.
Go
too.
ahead.
So
Yeah,
if
you
you're
done
going,
hit a nerve. There's a lot of us in this audience.
so when you're going to buy, so is it better to say, okay, if I see a house for 500,000,
Yes, sir.
and I go to the person and I say, okay, I have 450.
Right.
Could I make that deal happen, or what's the?
You see, it's a little bit of a thin line when doing tax returns and things like that. I would say consult the accountant because they
Okay.
usually have an idea of what goes on, and get an idea. Don't pay extra taxes because you're trying to show, I'm really making, whatever. Just try to take it easy.
Well, see,
that's right.
I guess here is the thing. I mean, for someone that can afford to put down
Right.
400,000.
Yes.
Do they have to do that, or should they take out a
Oh,
loan?
I love this topic actually.
Because
People
you have it
sometimes
doesn't mean you need
yeah
to spend.
some
you have to-
people I mean the rates are so low today, guys. I'm saying, like, why would you put $400,000 down? $400,000, if you want to take out of the bank today, they're going to kill you on the interest that you're going to take down. Why not keep most of that money in your pocket for a bad day and just take that 3.5%? Yes, some people are
Okay,
going to fight
okay.
me and they
Gotcha,
can
gotcha.
say, well, for that 3.5%, I need to pay an extra fee every month. But you know what? It's sleeping well at night, knowing, you know what, I have that money just in case I have a bad month or a bad year or whatever it is. There's no point. There's
Gotcha.
really no point. Money is so cheap. Like I said, especially for houses, for every 100,000, again, approximately 450 a month, just on the mortgage, not including your tax, insurance, and PMI. Now, as far as financial programs, okay, there are a lot of financial programs out there. I'm going to give you my personal opinion, okay? This is my personal 100% opinion.
Yep.
I get a lot of people that come to my office and tell me, listen, I got a pre-approval, I'm using this program, I'm using that program. There's a lot of programs. One of them are NACA. There's other assistant programs, things like that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with those programs. I get them.
Do me one favor.
Yes.
Because we're speaking to a vast amount of people.
Yes.
Right. Up, New York,
Everywhere.
down south,
Not
everywhere.
yes. He's going to ask you.
Okay.
Give me 5 programs.
Ooh,
Or 3.
I'd be bad.
Wait,
I know. Like,
all right.
okay. So there's something that people hear that says first-time home buyers program. It's not really a program. That's just
Or
the
the most
minimum
popular.
for the
Sure.
first-time home buyer. You can only put 3.5% down, which is the FHA we spoke about.
Okay.
That's one of them. Then there's NACA that people hear about. Then there's I forget, because I'm not too good in those, because in New York personally, I've only failed trying to get clients houses with these programs because people are very aggressive here. A lot of people are coming down with a lot of money down, and the programs usually take a little bit of time. And you know how slow New York moves. I'm just kidding. You know how fast New York moves. So the programs, I would suggest, honestly, time is money. The amount of time you're going to put into these programs, I would say do some research, and basically I'm walking you guys through what you're going to have to do.
So let's go back
Sure.
to the basics, because we started out and then we went into the
Oh, yeah,
money
everything.
side of it.
Yes.
And I want to keep it very
Sure.
pragmatic for our listeners, who some of them, this is the first
Got you.
time they're coming out the gate.
Absolutely.
So step one, from your perception
Yes.
and from your active ability in this, which I've seen you doing this and it's wonderful and you're very good at your job. What is the first thing that we
That you
want to do? Do we want to find a broker? Do we
Okay.
want to find a real estate agent? Do we want to
Got you.
find the actual
Okay.
mortgage? Do we want to get a pre-approval? What
Okay.
is the proper order that they should come out for?
So the proper order is, again, this is my opinion, but most people will tell you, is to get a pre-approval. Now, it's a fancy word for a letter that tells you that if you come in for a loan, this is how much we're probably going to give you. It doesn't mean that's what you're getting. I've got many pre-approvals, and then after that, the numbers didn't match. But that's the first thing I would do, just in your mind, to have an idea, okay, this is what I can take out. A house for this much is going to cost me this much a month. And keep in mind, that's just for the house. It's not the electric bill, not the cable, not the gas. So that gets you thinking about it. Okay, do I want to do this? I'm already renting for 20 years. I get people, I'm renting for 20 years. Do I want to do this? I'll get to the advantages of owning a house later. But that's the first step. Okay? And now, when you go for pre-approval, they're bankers and they're brokers. I like dealing with direct lenders. They specialize just in mortgages, okay? Houses. They specialize in that.
So that's the banker. Or
That's
is it
the
then a
that's
broker?
the yeah, no, the banker. The banker.
Okay, I just wanted to be
the
clear.
banker, yeah.
Okay.
So a banker. So I always tell people, I ask them, are you dealing with a banker, which is a direct lender? That's all they do all day. They know houses all day, and they're a little bit more flexible. Or are you dealing with a broker or a bigger branch? Can we say some names of bigger branches?
Yeah.
Okay. So like Citibank, TD, Chase, all these bigger branches, they don't necessarily only do houses. They do everything. So it
everything.
falls in a whole pool.
Right.
You know, and their numbers are a little bit different. In New York, we know today everything's expensive. These direct lenders, they actually know exactly what things are going for, and they actually try to help you out to say, listen, this is how much I could push it to, but monthly, what are you comfortable with? That's what they kind of help you out with.
Okay.
So, and it's not very systematic. It's more face to face. So that's what I would do. I
So
would
that's
find
with the
I
big
would find
boys.
no.
That's the small
The banker,
boys.
the small well, they're not small. They're more
They're more
for
direct.
home loans.
And they
Yes.
specifically,
They specifically do with homes.
on that product.
Yeah. So just to recap real fast.
Okay.
So there's bankers, which are direct lenders, and brokers. Okay. The brokers are the more commercial banks that people hear about all the time. The bankers are more the small. They're smaller companies, but believe me, they're not small. They've been doing this for many years.
That's big.
It's just specifically they only do houses. That's all they do.
Hope is a banker?
So Hope. So
Okay.
it's an example.
Because I deal
so,
specifically
yeah.
with one called
So,
Vivid. That's
yeah,
Hope.
Vivid Mortgages.
And that's a bank.
She's a direct lender.
Go ahead,
Okay.
go.
And she basically walks you through the process, and everything is done in her office. She doesn't have to, send documents out to Idaho or wherever. No disrespect to Idaho, I love everyone, but like out of state.
There's a joke
She's
about that,
more
right?
in control of
Yeah.
that.
There's a joke about Idaho, right? Like,
Oh, boy,
who's the
here we
hoe? Who's the hoe? Idaho.
Why?
That's what I would suggest, going to direct lender. The direct lenders have more control, they're more on top of you. They will probably care more because they're actually working on commission. It's just not like everything that's just coming in they're getting a piece of. They're actually working on a file, case by case. So that's what the first thing I would do. The bank is the first thing. Second thing, okay, that I would do preparing for a house. I would, again, not trust any of these websites, and I'm going to name them because I have
Call them out.
Okay. So
This is
number
the real
one, and they're going to
discussion.
hate me for this, Zillow. Everybody's familiar with Zillow and Trulia. Okay?
Boy.
Please, guys, Zillow and Trulia, it's not a real, it's more of like a toy. In New York, it's not that, what's the nice word to say it? Precise or correct all the time. There are houses that
Don't
people...
be nice.
Yeah, okay. So
Zillow is more for the investors looking at the quick
even the
pull.
investors, it's more of like,
It's not
guys,
for you
it's
guys.
it's
It's not for you.
it's a catfish. It's basically
Yes.
they're trying to pull you in.
Yes.
So I'm talking to everybody like family right now. I know we're not family, but we're all, we're listening
And
to the same
he's like a
station.
son to me,
Thank you.
and that is...
So
And I want to get
Yes.
into the relationships
Yes.
because there is a relationship that goes along with house buying that people don't realize.
absolutely.
Emanuel has been with me for years doing my homes. And when I even think about buying a house, the first person I pick up the phone is him and call, because there's a whole relationship. It's like all of my children are coming together under one roof. Emanuel, Hope, and Brian,
Yeah,
and
Brian.
everybody's coming together to pull the deal together. So it's really important that you develop a relationship with the person who's going into these homes and building your dream. I'm sorry. Go
Now,
ahead.
no, I want to hit a point that you actually I thought about today. So when you go on these Zillow and Trulia websites, you have to understand these are websites that are advertising. They're advertising websites. They're going to show you anything that's out there
Right.
and things that aren't out there. That's just how it is. Advertising is like that. And people get frustrated all the time when I give them the real hard truth, and I'm like, listen, there are no houses for that price. Trust me, if there was, I would give it to you. I'm not hiding it.
Right.
Please, like, I would give it to you. I don't mind. I would give it to everyone. I'd buy one myself. It doesn't exist most of the times. Or, which is this one I love, you will call a real estate agent and they'll tell you, oh, it's an all cash deal. Okay? Now, sometimes they are all cash deal, but sometimes they say that also to kind of like sift you out. To be like, okay, you're most likely going to say, oh, I'm not paying all cash, and then you forget about that house.
Then you're done.
Exactly.
Right.
So, I mean, there are websites. I'm not going to advertise for them, but there are websites out there. One of them is Street Easy that I do like to go to.
StreetEasy.com.
Street Easy, yeah. Yeah, Street Easy is a good one. I like that one a lot.
StreetEasy.com.
Yeah.
What about Lending Tree? What's your opinion?
Lending Tree is a mortgage, isn't it? Mortgage company more?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lending Tree is more of a mortgage company, more for loans. But for actual houses, that's one of my favorite ones. Or you find a local realtor that can actually go online and look at what's out there. So that's what I would say. If it's too good to be true, guys, it's too good to be true when you're looking for a house. Well, actually, so it takes me to another side note when you spoke about houses that are out there. If again, if it's good to be true, it's probably good to be true. You can check, but those are only those Zillow, Trulia, all those other, all that stuff. The Facebook like clicks on the side, all that stuff is meant to just get your information and kind of lead you into the process of understanding what's going on. And what happens is I speak to a lot of people, and after 2-3 months, they get so discouraged and upset, and I explain to them that that's how advertising is today. It's very automated. So you got to really step out there and look at things for yourself. I would go to a local real estate office. I would make a couple of phone calls. I would do whatever you need to do and not just trust the internet.
And I'm so glad that you said that. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand that when you're doing this, it's a process. It's not like finding an apartment where it might take you 1 month, 2 months. You're looking for a house that you're going to live in for the next 25 to 50 years, and probably it be a legacy that's going to be handed down to your children. It might take you a year and a half, 2 years to find that house. Between the getting you as a person on paper
Ready.
and with your if you're doing a co-buyer, or if you have a husband and wife situation, everything has to match, everything has to intermingle properly on paper. You have to have a good relationship with your real estate agent or your broker, who once again is going with you to physically walk through these houses, see it in the summertime, see it when it's raining. The best time to see a house physically is when it's pouring rain outside.
Thank you for saying
Because
that.
you will see the leaks, you will see the puddles, you will see the ditches in the backyard.
See how bad it goes.
You will see the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely.
And you'll love
Rain
it or
exposes.
you'll hate it.
Yeah.
Then the next part of the process is, once you've got that going, you still have to come back to the paperwork on the other end, because now you have to look at inspection. Now you have to look at insurance. There's so many components to this thing. At least like the person and develop a relationship with the person that's going to be a part of your life for the next year and a half as you pull this whole deal together. And when it's done, you'll have a friend for life. You'll have someone who you will be happy to recommend to other people. And you'll have the product that you want and always dreamed of. So, having said all of that, I want to remind you that you're with The Real Discussion with Rock's Logic, with Gary D and ESP. We want you to call in to 929-480-8478, because we're sitting here talking to Emanuel Afra, one of the best people in the world.
Thank you.
And we're trying to set you up in how to buy your very first house and what you need to do. So we want to hear your questions. He wants to hear your questions.
Absolutely.
We want to put you on the right track. So call us and let's talk. And now we're back to you.
Oh, well, I would like to invite some people in, right?
Okay.
So if you do real estate, you
Sure.
need to call in.
Please.
If you're looking to get a house, call in. Because I'm seeing stuff in the chat room, because I'm in the chat room, and someone's asking about Zillow and it look like Riddling, but that's not Riddling. That's
Redfin.
application.
Redfin,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Redfin, right? I can't see. And call in and ask these questions.
Yeah.
You're here.
Please.
Let's use the benefit of the situation. So whether you're buying a house or you're
Well, we just
in
knocked
real estate-
Zillow out. So guys,
I love
whoever asked
challenging
that
questions. Go
Cartier,
ahead.
you just asked that
Yeah.
question, Zillow. We hate Zillow, but
Right.
call in and talk to
Yeah,
us.
Right, which is
please.
Don't
good.
type, because we're not looking. Call
Yeah, call in.
You want to defend Zillow? Then defend Zillow.
Come on and call in.
That's
We
kind
want to
of a
hear
thing.
from you.
Which I wanted.
I want to
go
ask
ahead,
you
Rob.
something. So what does it mean? Because ESP said something that, as a first-time buyer, a lot of us don't understand.
Yeah.
What does it mean to look good on paper?
Okay. I will come right back to that. I just
Cool.
want to say one more thing. I'm sorry.
It's
I want to
okay.
say one
No,
more
flow
thing
with it.
because
Go.
it's important. So that's why I tell people it's very important to find a good agent. Okay. I don't believe in reviews. I really don't. Unfortunately, this is how the world is going. Everybody believes reviews. Oh, this guy has 150 reviews. They're all 5 stars. Come on, you want to tell me that one person didn't have a problem? Not everybody likes me. You're definitely not gonna have 5 stars.
Oh, I'm gonna play you a
You know?
message or something. Oh.
So exactly, yeah. So
You,
it's like,
listen, you must have never ever heard of brief CPR, buddy. Listen, we got 5 stars.
I'm not
That's all
saying
I'm
that
saying.
I'm not saying they're fabricated,
No,
but
go ahead.
but you know what? Like, even you got to be careful with which agent you're working with, because they're kind of setting you up, and it's your first time, and that's gonna be the experience you're gonna, judge the next agent on, and the next agent on, and the next agent on. So, I say to people, it's not how professional they are; it's more how experienced they are, and even if they're experienced, that doesn't mean that they're that professional. So have a little bit of a connection with them and feel comfortable, because once you kind of have that connection and that bond, they kind of get you, and you understand that they're working for you. You understand, in your best interest.
Oh boy.
Okay, and that's the most important thing, because if they're not, and they have a hidden agenda, then this is not really home buying. This is like, how am I going to trap you into the most expensive house I'm going to make the most commission on, and you're going to call me in a year and be in a lot of trouble.
And be jammed.
Exactly. And another thing that I was actually thinking is, back to the reviews real fast. You're going to see people with, thousands of reviews and things like that. Guys, understand that people, especially all the time, this happens on Amazon and eBay. They basically will hound you to write a review, and they actually reward you. So do your own research. Don't go by what's good, what people said about someone. Do your own research. Maybe somebody that wasn't good for somebody is good for somebody else. It has nothing. We all have different things that we take into account. So and also, the most experienced agents might not be the best for you either, because they're talking in so many languages you don't even know. And somebody that probably has less experience in the past year or two is still on the right track and actually trying to help people to get that house and do whatever they want to do. So you really need to feel. Experience doesn't mean they're going to do the best for you. Unexperienced doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing. You got to really feel your agent. That's so the most two important parts: a bank that you feel comfortable with, and an agent that you feel comfortable with.
And I want to make sure that you feel comfortable with this agent. So get a pen. His name is Emanuel Afra.
Yep.
I'm going to give you his cell phone number: 347-777-9887. Emanuel is with Emanuel for Homes at gmail.com, and that's Available Homes New York. He's fabulous, he's personable, and he will go the 900 yards that it needs to have this deal done. Let me tell you, I have had this young man. People have called me and bypassed him, and I've picked up the phone and called him and said, Emmanuel, such and such has called me. I don't know who this is. And he's like, what? What's the number? Give me the number. And I actually have saved messages over the last couple of years that I've kept in the phone, if I can fish them out, where he's called them back and said, this is such and such and such. You call my client? And he's ripped them up and put them in their place to let them know, you're not bypassing me. I've had a relationship with this woman for years. How the hell do you think that you can just step beyond me?
It's not even because of the commission, or I don't mind. If I'm not good for you, it's more about because that person doesn't have your best interest. I know the situation.
I know,
and I know all that stuff. They don't know your best interest, and they will do anything they can. If you sneeze on the internet and you're just interested in a house, they will do whatever they can to make sure that you get into one.
Right.
Because I believe in life, there's always a way to get whatever you want. It just depends how you want to pay for it. So that's what they're gonna do. Honestly, all my life it's been on a word-to-word, like a person-to-person basis, and that's how I believe you get successful in life. It's not through advertising and not through things like that. It's doing the right thing for people moving forward, and that's what I felt. But yeah, if you need me to kick anybody's ass, a real estate agents that's trying to, we'll do that too. That's free, complimentary. We'll take care of you.
You said something very, very important that I think that struck me. It's working people's best interests.
Right.
I've been a manager in the music industry, and that's been my philosophy and how I always feel.
Beautiful.
So when you talk about working in someone's best interest,
Yes.
I think first-time homeowners definitely need to find someone that they feel is going to work in their best interest, because that's what it comes down to, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With anything. With anything. But I mean, I'm not that much younger than everybody here, but I'll tell you guys, unfortunately, today everything's very automated. Everybody believes everything on the internet, and I'm going to keep saying that 1,000 times.
Actually, you
But,
are, because
yeah,
they're all
yeah.
50 and over here.
No, I'm not that. I'm not that much. I'm not that much younger. No, I'm 21. I look like I'm. No, I'm
You
kidding.
look
New York
21.
makes you look like you're much older.
I
No,
wa-
I'm really much older than 21.
I
but-
want to pull you towards
Sure.
closing costs,
Sure.
because there's also something else that you do that I want to talk about
Absolutely.
before we're limiting our time. But
Sure.
let's come to you've gone through the process, you've found
Find
the
a
right
banker.
house, you've gotten the right
Okay.
banker, you've gotten the right mortgage, you have a
Okay.
wonderful agent like you working with everybody's happy, everything is amazing.
Yes.
And now we're in contract.
Okay.
And we're just waiting for all the T's and the I's to be dotted
Okay.
and everything to be crossed. And we're looking for a closing. Everything came back great, and we're looking for a closing. Now let's talk about these closing costs that
Got
you
you.
hit upon several times, because that's a biggie. People get shocked
Yeah.
when they have to hear about closing costs.
I don't think many people know even what closing cost is. They just hear the word.
That's
Yes.
true.
Believe it or not.
No, they don't know.
Everybody- Yeah.
They don't.
So let's make it very simple. Closing costs can mean a lot of things, but in my eyes, what they really say is closing cost has to do with all the paperwork that the city and the bankers and everybody needs to do in order to get you and record everything, so it's official. So it's all the searches, it's everything they need to do to put it on paper. Now, it could range from 3%, it could go to 6%. It just depends which bank you work with. Does it mean that they're better, they're charging you less or more? No. But that's what it is. Now, after you're in contract, what you said, you found the house, you're ecstatic about this house, things like that. There's a lot of processes that go, and then they usually ask you about closing costs. Now, some people ask, okay, I don't have that extra money. I just put 3.5% down. That's my life savings. I cannot put anything else. There are things that people can do to help with closing costs. One of them is called seller concession. Now, if I want to describe it, it's going to get too confusing, but let's explain it this way. Make numbers easy. You found the house for $500,000, let's say, okay, and their closing cost is about 3 or 4%, okay, of that $5,000. Let's just say that number, to make it easy, the closing cost is 19-ish, right? You don't have an extra 19,000. So there's something called seller concession. What they do is they take that 19,000 and they put it into your loan. So you're actually taking out a loan for 519,000. You understand? And that's much easier to spread over 30 years than coming out with 19 grand right there in hand.
That makes sense.
You understand? But with a grain of salt too, you cannot always do this. You need to make sure, and the banks check this to make sure that the value of the house is actually worth that 519. If they don't think so, you cannot do that. If it's only worth 500 and you're maxed out, you cannot do that. Now, one other thing that I tell people is, and I get this all the time, when clients put an offer, I'm just going to go back for a second. They put an offer and they say, listen, I don't think the house is worth, X, Y, and Z. Okay? If you're going to say something like that, back it up, guys. Bring something showing a house that's sold in the area that's not worth it, something like that, or, things like that. But just also keep in mind, I get it, I understand, and I'm very sensitive to this. You're putting a lot of money down. You want to make sure it's worth it. But don't forget, if you're putting 3.5% down, the bank is putting all that other money down. So they're going to definitely make sure that it's worth that price.
Right.
It's not going to make sense. And going back to what you said, the crises that happen, a lot of houses weren't worth what they were worth.
Right.
They just gave people. They said, okay, this was worth
It's
that
very
much,
true.
and all that type of stuff. But today it's much more strict because they use random appraisers. No, the banks don't work with the appraisers
Yeah.
Oh, that's
directly.
good. That's good.
There
Yeah.
were the days
They-
where you could
yeah.
call. I knew you appraised,
Yeah,
and you
hey,
would go and
do me a
appraise
favor.
every house that
Yeah,
I had.
yeah.
So you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, you
It's
can't
like
do
out
that.
of a pot now.
And then, so that's what I would say. For closing cost, we have that, which is called seller concession, and that helps people dramatically. Because if you take 19,000 and you spread it by 30 years, I mean, what is that? I don't even know. It's nothing. It's really nothing. So that's the closing
And
cost.
it's that seller's concession sometimes is the big difference, especially for a young couple that's starting out, and they don't have things that are saved up. And by the way, in terms of the closing costs, also there's another issue that you can bring on to help. If you have parents that want to give you a gift, if you have
Absolutely.
family members that want to give you a gift, they can actually come in and give you a gift as well. And add to the mortgage situation. So you can do it. For all of you who thought that you couldn't get a house or didn't know how to approach it, I'm telling you, I have the man right here. His name is Emanuel Afra. His phone number is 347-777-9887. And if he can't do it, I'm telling you, nobody can. Just pick up the phone and call him and talk to him. It doesn't hurt you to have a conversation, and it doesn't cost you anything to get information. He will take the time. Tell him you were listening to The Real Discussion with Rock's Logic, Gary D, ESP. He will say, oh, I was on that show, and he will sit and he will chat with you.
I just wanted to add one more thing, if you don't mind.
Can I shoot this at you?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
There was it 19,000?
Yeah,
What are we
about.
talking about?
Mm-hmm.
About $633 a month.
Right.
That's what it would be. That's
What do you
just
mean?
Over the course
Oh,
of
yeah?
the 30
over the course
years.
of the
30
30
years?
years. Yeah. Yep. I just did the math. I just did division in my phone.
So that's what you'd be paying extra because of you
No, $633 a
integrating.
month? Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, but
Well, I
he
mean, why
also
check it?
has to.
It's
Check it
less
out.
than that 19. I
There
mean,
you
yeah,
go.
yeah,
There you
that's
go.
what I meant. I'm
Right.
sorry.
No,
It's not a lot.
no.
Yeah.
It's not a lot
Yeah,
because
it's
you're
not a lot.
right.
Yeah.
Right? Because whether if you're cracking straight 19,000 out your pocket, right? All right, 633 a month, straight 19,000 over 30 years.
Yeah.
That's when you talk about time with money. That's not a lot of money.
It's
at all.
actually another 19 because remember you put 20 down,
Right.
so you have another 19. So it's worth it.
I don't-
All in all,
I
it's
agree
worth
with
it
it.
for you.
Rock, I
I
don't
agree
think
with
it's 633 a month. I think it was
Is it 633 a year?
I think so. Yeah, because
that right,
633 a
African
month is
Yeah,
going to be too
over-
much.
over-
Yeah.
Look at
Over
African
a
Hannah.
30-year
Yeah,
Hannah was
loan.
like this.
633. Yeah,
It's
that's why I said it's
633
too
a
much.
month.
No, it's probably a year, which
So-
is a joke.
So now,
Yeah.
come on, you spend more than that in cigarettes and beer. You know what I'm saying?
You do.
Exactly right. You do.
Yeah, you do. But
633 a year is nothing.
But
All right,
well,
so-
the biggest thing basically is if we just want to just have like a small recap. I know because there's thousands of questions,
Yes.
and trust me, I will sit with you. Whoever calls me, I take time, whether you can or you cannot buy. But rent is very expensive, okay, in New York. Everybody knows this. You're basically paying somebody else's mortgage. A lot of people don't know, and the same price that they're paying for rent, they can actually own a property.
That's right.
And not only is it theirs, you actually get tax write-offs for people who are W-2 workers. Any collar worker, that's works for a company or for an organization or anything like that. At the end of the year, you're getting slammed with taxes. When you own a house, that's one of the biggest reasons. I mean, I'm gonna say I'm 36. I have no wife. I have no kids.
And single, ladies.
Yeah.
He's single.
I get hit with a lot of taxes at the end of the year,
And he drives a nice car.
Oh, he has a hot whip. You're going to see that in a minute.
we
sorry.
try to.
I know.
No, it's
He's like a son to me. I'm trying to get him married.
Listen, I'll tell you this much. That hot car is because I do the right thing. It's not because I overcharge. Trust me. So I say to people, listen, try to find out if you could really if you can handle a house. Sometimes I tell people, listen, don't buy a house. It's going to be too hard on you. And I tell them the truth, and they're like, what are you talking about? Isn't that how you make money? When you want me to buy a house? I'm like, no. because I don't want you to come back to me. And then I feel like when you buy a house for me, I feel like that's it. You're my family. Like years down the line, I come over, we go to, barbecue parties, whatever.
I can't
So
get
it's
rid
like a
of you.
family. Yeah, you can't get rid of me. That's
No,
it.
yeah, we ride in the hot car.
Because
You in the
Hint,
car.
hint, hint. We ride in a hot car. I'm just saying. All right.
So it's not honestly, to some listeners that might think this is BS what I'm telling you, honestly, there are good people out there. There are good agents out
Yes.
there, not only me, that really do rely on relationships and building them and communities and building them a certain way. And they do care, and they're looking to do the right thing. But again, like everything, if everybody was an angel, then there wouldn't be such thing as angels. So there's only a limited amount of people that do it the right way,
Yin
and it's
yang.
up to you, to understand what you're comfortable with.
And that, my dear, is a lovely segue into you being an absolute angel, because Emanuel also is into something else. He has a company called Smiles Through Cars, and I'm going to let him tell you
Okay.
this wonderful, wonderful foundation that he's come up with.
So the company is actually, I'm a member of the company.
Mm-hmm.
The person who started, he started about, I would say about 15 to 16 years ago. His name is Josh, and he had a will to, I don't know, to give back to kids. He said, you know what, we do all these type of things and we neglect some kids that have some special needs or some ailments or some type of difficulty or anything like that. And he's like, you know what, I make good amount of money. I spend it on nonsense.
Mhm.
Why not I do something productive with it? And actually, people will appreciate it. Like especially the kids. Kids, you give them, and I mean, you give them a lollipop and they'll go crazy for like weeks. It's like, so he's like, you know what's it gonna be so much to give them a little bit back? So he opened this organization. He started this organization. It was very small when they started. It was like one person, and was him, and he owns a car, and he put the Batman logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he decided that I'm gonna be Batman, and I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna visit kids that are sick, that have some type of problem. Any problem. I mean, like anything. It could be whether a kid is down, he's just upset, or he has I don't know, anything really.
You guys were at St. Jude's the other
Yes.
day.
So the past week, we went to St. Jude's. And this happens usually like random. It's not like we have scheduled and we get paid for this. We get absolutely zero paid for this. So he called me.
Just for clarity, let's back
Yes.
it up.
Yes.
St. Jude's is a hospital for what type of child or sickness?
So most of the sicknesses that we've seen there, I mean, I'm sure they do a lot of stuff. They're a children's hospital,
Yes.
so they get everything.
Okay.
We've seen, I get goosebumps because I hate this word, cancer
The cancer
patients
patients.
Right,
to,
right. 'Cause that's
you read my
primarily
mind.
what that's
Yeah,
primarily
because
what this thing is.
yeah, I got goosebumps on it. They cancer kids, and then other ailments.
Africa, do you have those pictures? Okay. So we have your pictures
Yeah.
up so we can show the audience for you.
So what are we looking at? Like one? Probably?
She has them
The
numbered
three,
1, 2,
number
and
three.
3. So
Okay,
you just tell her what.
so the Batman car is the number 3 car. That wasn't a few days ago, but this was earlier. So the basic idea of the thing is, most kids like cars. I mean, from what I know.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get a group of people who have fancy cars, okay, have a little bit of extra time, and actually want to do something right. So they would go with fancy cars, visit these kids, okay, give them rides in the cars, talk to them about the cars,
And you guys dress
play
up.
with them, and dress up, which is another addition that
So what
made
do
it
you
extra
dress up
special.
as?
So I've been cheating, and it doesn't match my personality, but I'm working on Deadpool right now, and I'm part of the I'm not
Oh,
sarcastic enough.
wow.
Yeah.
Deadpool is heavy.
Yeah, so I'm working on that character, but right now, honestly, I've been going as myself and helping him
Mm-hmm.
to go to different places. And again, it's very random. We don't know what day who's going to call us. And basically, it's Josh picking up the phone or putting us in a WhatsApp group and saying, hey, guys, I'm going to visit some kid. He just had a transplant, blah, 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 not feeling well, very down. Please, whoever can join, just text me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the one that we went to St. Jude's, I swear, look at the goosebumps.
No.
The one we went at St. Jude's, which was this past week,
That's number
we
2.
visited a kid.
Can we have video number 2 up? Is
Yeah.
that possible? I don't know.
So we visited a kid and a family. His whole family basically lives in that hospital. They cannot leave the kid alone.
Mhm.
Okay, the kid has a certain condition that he needs to be in the hospital 24/7. So they pretty much live with him.
So his family lives in the hospital.
Pretty much. I mean, not live, but they're
No, no,
there
but they're
like
all the
20.
time.
Well,
Yeah, they're all the
that's
time.
Live.
the joy
Yeah,
of St.
yeah.
Jude's. Danny Thomas
So,
had St. Jude's
yeah,
built so the
yeah.
families could come and stay with the
Well,
children.
that's living.
So
So that's
Batman
living.
called me and he's like, listen, I really
Batman.
want you to come with your car because, yes, my car is awesome, but they'll go crazy because you have butterfly doors.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. He called me. Believe it or not, I told one of my clients, I'm like, guys, I'd love to show you my houses.
But I gotta go make a
yes,
kid happy.
Yes. And they
I gotta go be Batman.
yeah, they actually kicked me and they said, oh, definitely go. Are you crazy? Go.
Aw.
So we went over there. We took some Dunkin' Donuts for the kids. We walked around. We also saw other kids too.
Mhm.
And we didn't neglect them. Like, it wasn't like we were only specifically going for that kid. We sat with other kids and spoke to them. And a lot of them were, first of all, they're extremely smart. Kids are extremely smart.
Mhm.
Extremely smart, especially when they know what's going on. They're just, unbelievable. And it was really, I'm so happy that I joined with him, and we have over 30 members now.
Mhm.
And we always try to, we always encourage people. You can also use that number that I have right there on the cell phone. If you know of a kid or family that's going through something, especially when it's a kid involved, we'd be happy to come and lift spirits there. It's not only about the cars, it's about the personal attention too. We talk to them, we play around with them, we do. We do.
The things that go on the real discussion here.
Little sauce time.
You know, oh my goodness.
Just need a little
So
taste,
people
but go
can
ahead.
actually call you at 347-777-9887
Yes.
and talk to you
Yes.
about smiles through cars.
Yeah.
Because if you know a child or you know a family that just needs a break or needs a happy moment or needs Batman to show up or Deadpool.
I'm telling you, when they see that Batman,
The
you don't
kids
understand
go
how many, not
crazy.
even the kids, the staff around the hospitals, people are like,
Just to do
what's
something
going on here?
special.
And it
That's
just takes
the
them
thing.
out of their normal day-to-day
Yeah.
problems
They
and,
get
and things like that.
energized.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I didn't understand it when he started doing it. I'm like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
And then he's like, listen, come and you'll understand. I said, okay. And I showed up and I was like,
You were blown
wow.
away.
This is what actually, like, and the point is that he doesn't take a penny. Anything that he gets donated, he really, I see it all the time. He takes it and he spends it on the kids. He gives them gifts. It just goes straight to the kids, and it comes out of his pocket. Sometimes he will not work for 5 days, and I'll call him. I'll be like, hey, Josh, what are you doing? He's like, Manny, and he's in commercial real estate.
Mhm.
And he is like, listen, I didn't even see clients this week. I visited like 20 kids. I'm like, God bless.
Is this a
bless.
foundation that can be donated to as well?
Absolutely.
So we need that information.
Regarding the information, you guys can call me and I will give you that information.
Okay.
Do I have it off the top of my head? No, because we're going through some changes. We started very small, and now we're getting a little bit bigger, that we even have some celebrities now reaching out to us and saying, hey, listen,
Gotcha.
I love what you guys are doing. How can we join? How could we make a difference? How can we, do this?
And I
So-
want to speak here for the real discussion that we would also like to be involved in that. You know,
Wow.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yay,
That's
give me
amazing.
applause.
Absolutely.
Yay.
That's a big. I mean, that's a
Absolutely.
big thing. You know, what I mean,
Absolutely.
Okay, with
I
applause.
mean, I've worked the ambulance
Yeah.
for time. You know, what I mean, I did CPR on a 4-year-old girl.
Wow.
You know, earlier this year that didn't survive the ordeal. So, being able for us to show up and support that is really big for us. And I would really like to be invited to some functions
I would love you guys to join.
that are happening.
I will
You know
definitely
what I mean?
keep you guys in mind.
So we can support that.
Maybe we can
you
get
don't
the
need to.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it's not.
mobile.
So some
Right,
people. Yeah, why
Or
not?
maybe we can put on Ghostbusters.
Listen,
Yeah,
it's
we can be
not even
Ghostbusters.
absolutely. Why not, guys? It doesn't mean that you need to have a car for this. It's just we did it through there. We did Smiles Through
Right.
Cars because it was just a thing. It doesn't matter. It's anybody who wants to give out, give some time away, and do actually some. I mean, there's excellent organizations everywhere. I'm not saying we're unique. But I think the idea of what he's doing
But you
is
are
very
unique, and
Yeah,
I we think it's wonderful, and we appreciate you for it.
And the deal is this:
So-
is if any of you want to give your time, you can just find an organization or Emanuel's organization
Yeah.
and say, hey, you know what? I want to give my time because as an adult, well, as a kid, I spent probably the first 10 years of my life in the hospital.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And back then, you were on the ward, right? And it was
Right.
heavy. You were on the ward. And I can remember spending Christmases and all that stuff and not having that type of support or even entertainment, really, to take your mind off of you being there in the hospital like
Absolutely.
that. So to be able to do something like this for us, I think it's tremendous that we can get involved and just kind of go, hey, we're here. Whether we wear costumes or whether we bring gifts or just have a
Whatever.
presence.
Even if you show up,
or just show up, like
yeah.
just whatever, just to be supportive in this situation.
Yeah.
You can
That would
show up
be-
and go, shake what your mama gave you, shake what your mama gave you.
And they will jump out and be like this.
Yeah,
in the
we'll have a
cribs.
whole bunch of little
Which goes,
kids.
hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we'd love
it's
to do
just,
that.
it's just really, I don't know how to explain it. Unless you do it, then you'll really understand. We're all
there.
caught up in making money every day, and we think money is everything, and everybody does, and it's extremely important. But trust me, guys, when you see these kids light up, and I wasn't. I think Esther, we had this talk. I wasn't crazy about kids at the beginning, but then when you see these things, like, you're like, wow,
It was a life-changing moment for you.
especially because of these situations. And again, you could find us on Facebook. It is Smile Through Cars, and you can get more information there. We have a whole write-up about everything that we're doing. There are videos there. Actually, this year, Batman and I cheated. I dressed up as Robin. We went and we visited a couple of autistic kids, and I was right behind them on a motorcycle, and I was Robin, and he was Batman. And could you imagine how the kids went crazy? I mean, they were like, "Oh my God, we have the team here," and it was great. It was amazing,
Yeah.
and even funnier, like. Even people lit up. We went to we took the kids, a couple of the kids, we took them to Dunkin' Donuts to bought them stuff. And when people saw what we were doing, everybody kept asking, "What are you guys doing? How can we get involved? How can we get involved? How can we
Sure.
get involved?" Which is important. You
Well,
know?
I definitely want to tie you into New York City Health and Hospital
Yeah,
Corporation.
don't you do hospitals?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the Council of Advisory Board for New York City Health and Hospital Corporation.
See, you
So
never know.
I
Yeah,
definitely
why
want to
not?
tie you in
Why
because
not?
we have quite a few children's units. We have hospitals around the city here. So I definitely want to talk to you about that.
Yeah, definitely. And any questions, anybody in the air that you guys have, please. We're always open to visiting. We're always open to even if it's not a kid, but if a family, anything. We're always open to these things. This was just like a niche that we picked.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's Smiles Through Cars.
Well, you're going to get a lot of calls. I keep going back to
Yeah.
your phone number and talk because I'm got several people texting me directly telling me we can't get through.
Okay.
So there are people that want to talk to you.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
we're
that's
having-
why I keep giving your
We're having
phone number.
phones. We're having problems
So we're
with the
having a
phone
little
lines.
issue with the phone lines. It
Yeah.
seems maybe that's what's going on. But I wanted to give you once again Emanuel Afra 347-777-9887. Because if you want to talk to him, I mean, this is real people. He's not afraid to answer his phone. Trust
Yeah.
me. He picks up his phones. And it's funny. You're sitting here, you're telling me about the cars and everything. I remember when we were searching for the houses, every day every time you went out to show me something, he showed up in a different car. It's like, what the hell? And they were all BMWs. I didn't know that they made that
BMWs are
many.
horrible, guys. Don't get a BMW. I'm
And
telling you.
then one day he showed up on a motorcycle. I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
What's going on?
I just know he came up in that orange hot shit, and I was
Yo,
like, that's your agent?
the angel wings. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's awesome. So give him a call. And going back to the housing thing. Okay, let me just say this is going to be my final say. He'll go on if he wants to.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's your dream house that you're looking
first
for.
one, right.
Your first house may be a little box out in Long Island with a whole bunch of space, but it's a beginning. You get one, you build yourself up, and you go from there. You may even rent that one and then rent that out and then go on to another house. The issue is you can do this. The information is there. This is what we do at the Real Discussion with Rocks Logic. You know, nobody's ever really broken down the name of this show. It's the Real Discussion. We sit here and we talk. That's the Real Discussion. But it's Rocks. You know him as Rock Logic. It's Rocks Logic. Yeah. He sits here at the end of the show and he says, so ESP, what do we have going on for next week? And then we banter about these ideas until a logical conclusion comes to him, and it's Rock's logic that develops the next idea for the show. So Rock, in his logic, said, we need to tell the people how to be in contact, how to be near certain ideas because they don't have the exposure on a regular basis. So we're exposing you to the thought of, I can buy a house, I can have something as a tool, because he hasn't talked to we haven't addressed the other end of this yet. We're going to get to that. What does this house that you are paying a mortgage for 30 years, 15 years, what is it doing for you? Because this life, this house can change your life, can change the way you do things, can build your dreams. So let's now go to that.
Go ahead.
You've bought the house.
Mm-hmm.
The agent was wonderful.
Okay.
You got a starter house because it's a young couple
Mm-hmm.
who's calling you back because she's having twins now, so they need something a little bit bigger, and you're teaching them how to rent the first house. You've helped them look for the second house, which is a mother-daughter, two-family, because her mom is coming to live with her to help her take care of the kids. Yeah. So now they've had something bigger, but that first house helped correct their credit. It helped build their savings because they were paying into it and they were saving money. Yes. Because they weren't paying rent and paying fees and paying traveling costs, and they got a whole new life out of this little house, and they put money away and it changed their lives, and now they're moving on to something else. But what else can that house do?
Just want to tell some people about my bio. I wasn't always into real estate. I actually went in for healthcare. Okay, and then I went into healthcare for the wrong reasons, because I thought money, things like that, blah blah blah.
And you couldn't get a BMW. I'm just saying, not that hot car, baby. I'm in healthcare. I'm just letting you know.
But then it wasn't even about. It wasn't like I put all that stuff aside and I said, you know what can I do that actually makes sense and will make sense, and it's the biggest expense that people go through every day, that will actually help with them. And I really thought that real estate, listen, people, it's going to, again, like the way you put it, it's going to build you. It's definitely, whether it's the first house, second house, whatever it is, it's a great way to kind of, think about the word home. It's like family comes together. It's like you build yourself from there and you keep moving up.
So it's a good way to build wealth.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's better than anything.
Among other things.
I think than anything. You cannot. What are you going to argue with? From history talking, real estate, whether it went down, it's always been up there. It's always been up there. People need a place to live. Mm-hmm. It's always been up there. I could tell you other things that also do make money, but I think for
That's another
a
show.
family, for a family,
Yeah.
I think that's the one of the biggest foundations, to start
Okay.
building something and leaving something behind, so that their kids and their kids will always have something,
So
like
if I
some
have
type
a
of
if I
value.
have a home, right?
Yes, sir.
Can I, I'm getting in a jam, or I have a hospital bill I have to pay. Can I borrow money against my home?
Okay.
Sure.
So there's something called a line of credit that you can pull against your house. Now, it depends what exactly you bought, and it depends how the market is doing, and it also depends on how many years you've been in it. But there are programs out there, and a lot of people don't know about this, and I'm shocked because a lot of people don't pay bills. They own houses, they don't pay bills, and they don't know that they can actually take a loan against their house and save themselves, so
And
that
pay
they don't
off
go into
themselves.
into
Right,
problems.
right.
So I don't know if you were getting into selling your house. Basically, you bought your first house. Now you want to sell it. You want to move to your second house. Were you getting into selling, or were we?
Well, you know the whole thing. You're going to ask, please. You controlled all of this. Emmanuel took care of me going into new homes, and he also took care of me selling homes that I had.
Right.
So he knows all ends. And actually, one of the kids is a real estate agent because of him, and that's a whole nother show because he can lead you to that. So the house buying process has so many layers. All right, but the equity line of credit
Yes.
is what we were talking
Yes.
about. It can save you if you're going under, depending if you're paying your mortgage on time, and if you're keeping everything up to date and you're just getting a little tight and things are going south, you can borrow a line of credit against your house. That's really what we were just talking about just there.
Which is important.
It is important, but keep in mind, it doesn't mean that you can keep kind of being in that. Like, you need to figure it out eventually, because you're kind of extending your
Yes.
your years of owing back.
Right, but I
But
just want to
it's-
say you
it's
have
a
to
time
understand
of-
something.
Yeah.
Because I want to be clear with that, so that there's a clear-cut thing that I'm driving at.
Sure.
If you're paying rent, you're paying into an abyss.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
no
that's basically
benefit to paying rent.
You benefit somebody else.
You're benefiting somebody else. But if you have your own thing, you've got financial flexibility. That's what I'm saying. Not that it lacks financial responsibility.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You have
Very nice.
you have flexibility
Well said.
in what you can do. That's what I'm saying
Yeah.
with that.
And listen, there are some people that can't buy, and there's nothing wrong with renting. Buying is not. Listen, I could tell you positives and negatives about buying, but I feel that it is one of the main foundational steps when you actually own property and you actually own a part of, especially here in the United States, you own something. It's very different. It's a very different experience. You feel grounded in a way. I mean, for me, it was. I felt grounded in some way. So that's
I'm going to tell you why this is very important to me to have you here.
okay.
There are certain communities that are not aware that they are able
Yeah.
to own things.
Oh yeah.
And the ones who are aware in those communities have felt that they never would be able to. I brought you here so you can open up the mindset. Rock has always wanted to do this show, but we didn't want to do it with just anybody. All right, so when he said, all right, Emmanuel, because we know that you could speak to the heart and mind of the audience that we're trying to bring
Target.
this forward
Yeah.
to, okay?
Yeah.
Because there's a big fear. They don't
Yeah.
think that they can even approach this.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make it as simple as it is, because it is very simple.
I will tell you something, and this is a few years back when I just started. I used to basically babysit the clients, believe it or not. I used to make sure that they don't make mistakes. I used to go to people's houses and take their credit cards away from them because we just did credit repair and cut them up into pieces. So I will be that, I do that
The
stuff.
gangster agent.
Yeah. So if you really the first thing I would say is just try to get information. Don't say no. Like, figure it out. Like, try to get some information, do some research, ask a lot of questions, If an agent doesn't want to answer these questions and he thinks you're being annoying, then skip. There's 1,000 more.
Yeah.
Ask a lot of questions, and but definitely try to stay in one path. Meaning, if you're working with people that you are comfortable with, and you feel that they have your best interest, stay with them. That's what I would say. Stay with them. There are no magic houses out there these days that nobody knows about. Trust me, it's all on the internet, unless it's like it just came out yesterday. So that's what I was gonna say as far as that stuff. But guys, I really appreciate you having me here. Honestly,
Well, we
I
appreciate
know.
you being here. We
You know.
really do.
Nah, it's a big thing because really, I've moved through the real estate thing a
Yeah.
little bit myself, and been in different parts of the country. Like I was recently in North Carolina, where like the plot of land with and they put a trailer on a part of on that land, and it was like 30 grand for both, right?
Wow.
And they're paying that a month. So, you know, what when I wanted to do the show, I remember just sitting there going, "Yo, we need to do a show about real estate." Like, this is ridiculous.
Been a long time coming.
Yeah, and it was like I'm there, and and they're paying like I don't know about $500 or $600 a month for the home, for the trailers on the home, and it's a nice trailer. It's they got trailers called not the Titanic. What's another word? The Terminator. They're the Terminator.
Lord.
Yeah, they got all kinds of. They got names for these things now, and I mean they make these beautiful.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
Homes
Yeah,
out
honestly,
of them.
yeah.
And they're incredible. And in certain parts of the country where this is the culture in that country, they're doing $600 a month or $500 a month for the trailer and the land, to own the land also, which is the real estate, right? Because the only thing real in real estate is the land, not the home, right? The home is part of real estate, but the land is what's real. I can knock down the home, but still have the land.
Yep.
Right?
Space
That's right.
Space
That's right.
is what's real.
is limited. Yeah.
Right. So that's what's real. So I was like, wow, this is crazy. We got to do a show about. And I called ESP from down south. Yo, we got to do a show about. And she's like, well, we need to get Emanuel. And I was like, all right, let's get Emanuel. We're going to do this. You know what I mean? But that was sort of the sponsoring thought.
One thing that if you don't mind me
No,
going
keep
into,
going.
a lot of people think we're just talking about a single family house. We're not talking only about a single family house. We're also talking about multifamilies, 2, 3, 4 families. For some, now, I know what I'm going to hear, and some people are going to shake, but for some people, a 2-family house might be better for them. Yes, it's more expensive. Yes, it might be a little bit smaller, but again, as you said, Esther, it takes time. It might not be your dream house, the first one, but it takes time. But a 2-family, you're basically almost splitting your payments. And the biggest thing about that is you're also building asset. You're building, your house is making money for you.
Right.
And people, you can qualify for a more expensive house when you're doing a multifamily than a 1-family.
Oh, you saying I could be a landlord?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because
So-
the bank factors in the fact that
A
you're
rental
going
payment.
to have a rental
Right.
So
payment.
somebody above me, living above me, and then
Yes.
that's part of it.
Yes.
Wow.
So-
They actually make that a part of the deal.
So
Okay,
just an example, just to give people an idea, just so that they see numbers, okay? Because numbers don't lie, and this is how it works. So if I'm just picking numbers, guys. An average 1-family right now that's renovated, people are paying about $3,500 a month, including everything. Okay? That means, no, I'm not talking about cable, gas, electric, meaning your tax, your insurance, and that little small thing I said that you're paying to only put 3.5% FHA. I'm really targeting FHA today because I think that's one of the best programs. I mean, 3.5% for a house that's, $500,600. I wish I could do that on a down payment on a car, on one of my cars,
Here
whatever.
we go with the cards
Yeah.
again.
So let's say 3,500, and let's say
No more cars.
Yeah, no more cars. So and then let's say you get a multifamily. Okay, your mortgage might be somewhere across like 4,500 a month, which is 1,000 more, but you're getting a rental income from upstairs for 2,500. And when you subtract that, that's probably less than what people are paying rent to somebody else these days.
And then
100%.
if you're renting the basement on top of that, you're probably not paying anything. You're letting
Hold
your
on. I need to give a disclosure. Disclosure
You're
alert.
supposed to do that
Disclosure
in
alert.
New York, you're not supposed to do that. But
Basement
okay.
is not a legal residence.
So bring a family member and charge
on
them
a
rent.
side, yes. On
Right.
a side note,
We're not close.
there are people that have called me
But yeah.
and said, "Listen, I'm in trouble. I don't know what to do. I have a 2-family. There's another floor that you have as an owner. Do whatever you got to do. Hold on to that house. Don't let it go. Don't sell it. Try to hold on to it as much as you can. You understand?
It's the greater factor.
Yeah.
Teach
It's the greater factor.
CPR
Yes.
in the basement.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
do
Try to
something.
hold on to it. So on a 2-family, and then people run into the risk of, oh, I'm scared. I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to rent. Guys, all the horror stories that you hear is most likely a person that was inexperienced, but it could also be bad luck. Absolutely. But if you take steps into really, screening your clients, which is something I can help you guys with, or most agents can help you with, it should be an okay experience. It should be. I mean,
So I would like to shoot this out there for
Yes.
like people like myself, right? If I was looking to buy, right, and I
Mhm.
wanted to be a landlord, management company,
yes.
right? I'd be like, I don't want to deal with that. I want someone else to deal with that. What is that?
So the management companies basically.
And can I do
they-
that in a 2-family?
Absolutely, you can do that. You can do that from a 2-family up until. So I deal really with 1 families to 4 families. Once it goes higher than that, it becomes more of like a commercial property. It's a little bit different. So yes, absolutely. Now the reason I would say on a 2-family, I think you guys can handle it for sure. When it gets to like a 3 or 4 family, there's more things involved. There's more people involved. There's more, girlfriends, boyfriends, cousins, uncles, that are more
Yep.
involved in payments and things
Well,
like that.
I've always managed mine, but it's now that I'm getting older, you're taking over the
Yes.
management now at this point.
So the management company, honestly, I like them. I have a property I use a management company with. They're responsible in making sure that things are done the right way, things are paid on time, and that my tenants have no headaches. Because again, if I'm at work, we're all working, right?
Right.
If I'm at work, but my tenant needs attention, that's their job. That's what they do.
So
and he has a motorcycle, so he can get
Right.
there quicker.
Yeah. I get
So,
the quickest.
so what am I paying the management company to manage my property, percentage wise?
Very good question. I've seen. I can't even give you a number. I've seen from 10% all the way up to like 50%
Okay.
of the
Okay.
rental income.
Okay.
I've seen some management companies say, "Hey, listen, this is a flat fee we want for the year."
Right.
But make sure if you guys get a management company, guys, see what other properties they're managing. Okay.
Okay, for quality.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So
You can get letters of reference
Yes,
for this.
yeah. Because if they're managing something else and they don't know what type of tenants you have, it's very important.
You're hiring an employee for all intents and purposes, so interview them like this management corporation that you're using. Interview them like you're hiring an
Absolutely.
employee.
Right.
It's basically like something we forgot about. In New York, you need a lawyer when you're actually buying real estate.
Mhm.
So some people come to me sometimes, they say, "Hey, listen, yeah, I got a lawyer. I'm good. I got a lawyer." I'm like, "Okay, is your lawyer a real estate lawyer?" "No, he's a divorce lawyer."
Right.
I'm
Or
like,
he's a criminal lawyer.
yeah, he's a
He
criminal.
did my
It-
case
and it
when I
makes a
shot
difference.
that dude in Brooklyn.
Because real estate law in New York is very specific.
Yeah. So it's important to know like what everybody specializes in, and trust me, to pay that extra couple of dollars just to have that peace of mind is worth it.
I mean, I wanted to bring up the because if I owned property, I wouldn't want to run around collecting the rent.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And what you're saying is there's a fee you pay to a management company, and then we're all good. So that's kind of where I was with that.
Yes.
For people that are thinking, oh, well, if I'm going to invest, then I got to get the rent. And that could be, first of all, I'm the worst
Yeah,
tenant in the
everybody's
world.
Some people
Yeah.
like that type of. I mean, I had that control until just recently,
Yeah.
and you showed me how beneficial it
Yeah.
was to.
I'm just saying,
relax
I was a
and, you know.
terrible tenant, so I know my landlord hated dealing with me.
Yeah,
you know what
don't
I mean?
rent to
So,
rock,
yeah.
guys.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
just don't rent to rock logic. Because I know some of the laws, and I will take you to the mat with them.
That's another show.
Yeah. See how well he just fits it? So what's your commentary, your final commentary for the week?
Yeah, because this is on me now, right? We got 4 minutes left.
Absolutely.
Well, here's the deal. First of all, I want to thank Emanuel for coming out.
Guys, thank you. Really, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
And we dealt with a lot of information. And once again, I know we do this podcast thing, and it's supposed to only be like 2 hours, and this always seems that every week we need more time.
Yeah,
right?
we need more time for you. I told you.
I'd love to talk about
Last week needed more time for Al Pizarro, and the week before that we needed more time. Yeah. But it's always informative, which is important. And I just want you to understand that we go over. It's not just Facebook that we do. This goes on Spotify, it goes on iHeartRadio, this goes on
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, TuneIn,
right,
Anchor.
Right. And then apparently we're big in France. We got a 20%.
Yes, we have 35% readership and listenership in France, and we're big in England as well.
Yeah, so it's a worldwide scenario, which has been nice. So it was nice to see the statistics. I'm sorry, but here's what I wanted to say.
Oh, you have to interrupt him.
Oh, I just want to say one more thing. I do also speak 4 languages, so for other people
so you want to do this again?
I speak Spanish. No, I speak Spanish and I speak other languages, so we could definitely help you out. So that's just on the side.
Nice.
Yes.
That's good. So what I want to get into is next week we have a tremendous show.
Oh, next week's show gonna be good.
Next week's show, is all about. Okay, so we've been serious, so we do 1 week serious and then 1 week is not serious.
Oh boy.
So next week we're doing a show about cheaters. That's right.
Oh my God.
Cheating in relationships.
Yes.
Cheating. We're talking about all you people that are out there creeping, or you've been creeped on. Oh my God.
I tried to stop him, but you can't stop Rock.
I need to bring a private investigator on this show.
Let me tell you.
I have some private investigators.
I'm serious.
I need to bring them up here.
Let's bring them because really we are doing a show next week about cheating. Men cheating, women cheating, because here's the deal. Everybody cheats. Now, that's not a blanket statement saying everybody is cheating. I'm saying men cheat and women cheat. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Right? And that covers everything, right? Cheating is whether you're gay or whether you're straight or whether you're man or woman. Everybody does that. Okay?
Now, we're going to put a couple of surveys up this week. So we would like you to answer the surveys that you see online in the Real Discussion website, because we're actually going to use some of the responses, no names. We're going to use some of the responses in the show next week, because we realize that some of y'all might be hesitant to call in because you might get busted.
Right. But if you want to call in, here's the deal. Just don't use your name. Just be like, my name is Chuck, but your real name is like Bob or something, right? And my old lady or my boyfriend or whatever you want to do, whatever you want to talk about, just what we're saying is we want you to call in next week. You can be anonymous, but we would like to hear your story.
And answer the survey poll.
Yeah, okay. So we're at 9 o'clock. We're at 8:59. It's time for us to rock out. And all right, ESP, we're going to try this. All right, so we have the lead out. I'm reading the lead out right now. Okay. This week, Rock's final commentary, which I've done already. All right, so where should I be on this? All right.
Can you see?
Where should I be on? No, I can't see.
Do the drop.
Okay, here's the drop. Okay. Thanks for joining us on The Real Discussion with Rock Logic and
Gary D and ESP.
Come on, dude. What the fuck, man?
Oh, wow.
Can you let us say ESP, please? All right, I'm going to go again.
He has the script.
Listen, hold on, because we have to rehearse this because it's been terrible. All right. So we've gotten this wrong every week. We're going to get right this week.
He's gotten this wrong every week.
All right. So thanks for joining us on the Real Discussion with Rock Logic and
Gary D
and
ESP.
Rock, on a final note, tune in next week. Remember when you want to get remember when you want to bring about change.
Call us and we'll help you
stir the pot.
Okay.
Holy crap.
We almost got it right, Hannibal. Oh my God. Big shout out to Hannibal, Africa Hannibal.
Thank you.
It was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Pleasure.
Yep, we're
And
signing
please,
off.
guys, call
y'all
me.
next
Any
week.
help.
Yep. God bless and good night. We're
Thank you,
done.
everyone.
Good night.
Dude, thank you. Are you kidding?